Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Kate Ashley. On today's podcast, we've got one hell of a stud, Ryan Flint. He is an entrepreneur, investor, philanthropist. He is one of the most well-known and successful real estate brokers in the country. He's with Mountain West Commercial Real Estate. It was a pleasure. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to know, how did Ryan Flint start into real estate?
So I started into real estate. Prior to real estate, I was in the fitness space, and I owned a gym, and did a lot of wellness and health and nutrition coaching, and my audience was the CEOs, kind of your busy higher end entrepreneur, honestly, or professional athlete. I knew that I wouldn't be in that forever. It's a hard space to be in. It's hard to make money. And I was really young, just right off of my mission, essentially, a year after. And I started to get a lot of good connections, a lot of big businessmen. And, they all knew. I was open with them that wasn't my end-all, be-all. And my father-in-law was a really big real estate developer on the commercial side. I grew up with my dad having warehouses. He was a vendor of FedEx. He did a lot of the lost and found and fraudulent stop stuff for FedEx exclusively. And so, me and my brothers, we grew up walking warehouses, and I just was fascinated by those. So I ended up selling my gym, and after selling my gym, I wanted to get into real estate, but I knew that I didn't want to get into homes. I didn't want to sell homes.
Yeah.
I was always passionate about the big stuff, right? I knew it was more of a niche. There's, everybody's a realtor on the home side, everybody's sister's brother-in-law's aunt's uncle's daughter.
There's a couple
and the home buying side of things was really emotional. I'm not going to buy the house because the paint. It's like, well, fix the paint, and then now you have a house that you love. And so I went, and my dad had me doing, quote unquote special projects. So I was basically like a glorified assistant for him until I figured out what I was going to do, and I was going through real estate school. And anyways, I was there a couple of months, and we had 8 acres on the backside of his Salt Lake City building that, was zoned industrial. And he said, why don't you, take a crack on that and try to sell that? And obviously I was licensed and could go make a commission, right? I wasn't with any brokerage. And I had a friend that I had known that was with JLL, second largest commercial real estate firm in the world. And I called him and said, hey, look, I'm doing this for my dad. And instead of, me just saying, hey, bring me a buyer and I'll pay you a buy-side fee, why don't we just list it together? We'll 50-50 it. I'll basically do all the nuts and bolts of everything. I'll make the calls. I'll answer the calls. I'll give everybody about the property. I'll put the marketing together. I just need your access, right? And so he came and met with us, and obviously I'd known him, and good guy. And in that process, I was always a hard worker. I just went to work, and he approached me, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks into the process, and was like, hey, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to get into real estate. I didn't know if I was really going to go on the developer side, because my father-in-law was a big-time developer, and was giving me a lot of advice. He's definitely not the guy that's like, come work with me, I'll just lay the land for you. Mm-hmm. Like he's the guy that's like, no, I'll criticize you until you're dead, and then if you can endure that, then we could probably do business, which I'm super grateful for. But, he gave me a lot of just very raw information on what not to do, what to do. So this individual that was with JLL, 3 weeks in, was like, hey, I would love if you came and work for me. And so I, obviously was working for my dad, and I said, hey, Dad, I think I want to go work with this guy. And obviously I was just temporary with him, and he's like, no, go do it. If you feel good about it, go do it. So went through the interview process, big corporation. So it probably was a month or two until it was all said and done. And I was just like the junior, first day on the job, you're suit and tie every day, working downtown in the sky rises, and you get there really early, and I'll just never forget. I thought it would be different with all the relationships that I had, and it was like, okay, here's a cold call list, here's a phone book, here's the lease expirations that I have tracked. Hit that phone booth, that's basically a prison cell, and we'll see it tonight at 9. It's 7 a.m, 8 a.m. I was like, okay, all right. I didn't know any better. I didn't, I didn't know what was wrong, what was right, and I just figured, hey, this is going to work or it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right? So I just put my head down, and I didn't know that one out of every 100 calls you'd get a meeting. I had no idea, like the ratios, and I'm a pretty analytical person. I just didn't really ask questions. I just said, look, what do you need me to do? I'll go 100% in. I'll be 100% present, and let's create, some success. And all he would ask is just set up meetings, ask these questions. Worst case scenario, you get their contact information or who's the principal.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I guess that would be worst case scenario. Best case scenario, set up a meeting, and if they have any information or needs, like write it down. Okay, that's easy enough. So 9 months of doing that. 9 months. I was making deals left and right, and some of them were small, some of them were bigger. But what I realized, honestly, is in that process, I as much as I love the individual and grateful for his, mentorship, I realized that, that's not how I do business. Again, it wasn't that he was doing anything wrong. It was just not working for me. And I had started to build a reputation out there with the other brokers, because for me, our business is so cutthroat. Everybody is so greedy, and it's like, like we were talking about earlier, just jealousy.
Yeah.
And I was always the opposite. I loved people. I have since I've, been born, and I was like, no, I'll make friends with all these guys, and a lot of them had some issues with my senior broker. And I was just like, no, just shrug it off. Like, just get to know me for me. And, so I was getting recruited, and I was getting deals done just being a junior. It takes 3-4 years to just kind of crack the system, and I cracked it really fast. So I was lucky, but, what you put in is what you get out, and I was grateful for it. So I went to a different firm, and had some good mentorship and leadership, but I was kind of doing my own thing. And I just remember going to the big dogs in the firm, and I said, hey, what value, how can I add value to you? And rather than me just like putting my head down trying to figure it out, it was what would get your attention if I brought it. It was like, well, here's a stack of flyers of my listings. I need to fill my listings. So if you want to take those and you want to walk down to marketing and you want to put your name on those, I'm not going to put you on the listing or pay you a fee for the listing. But if you want to put your name on just to get people's attention, I'm good with that. And it'll give you an opportunity to, when you're talking to people, like, hey, check out my listing, right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that seems cool. That seems fair. And I just kind of took off. I was starting to sling, deals. There was some weeks that I was doing 10 deals in a week. But I was the first one in the office. I was the last one home every night. And my wife and family paid for it, for sure. But the cool thing is, she was always supportive. Like, don't come home until you get that deal. But I really had no choice, because there, was many times that, she would call out of love and was like, hey, are we going to make our mortgage this month, $1,400. We're going to be all right. We didn't have any car debt, thank goodness. And I, confidently, just being confident in myself, I didn't want to let her down. I was like, yeah, I'm going to find a way.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, several years, I was recruited by Brandon Fugel, and was a great mentor and friend, and climbed the ladder really fast with him. And he just put me in. He gave me a lot of really good opportunities that I had to still shine. And I was there for a long time, and was his president. And just last year, my contract was up for renewal, and with Colliers, it's obviously a huge firm, and they wanted me to extend, but they wanted a lot of term, and I just kind of had to be honest with myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do. There was a lot of things I couldn't do being a corporate, firm broker. I couldn't really go roll my fees into other deals or, build that wealth that we were talking about. And so it took me 6 months to make the decision, but I just had the courage to say, you know what, I'm going to put my license over here. With Mountain West, still a big firm in the Intermountain West, but it gives me the ability to spread my wings a little bit. And so I, a little over a decade doing it. And I learned really early, the thing I'm the most grateful for is what I learned really early what not to do and what identity I wanted to be in the business. And I made lots of mistakes. But
that's normal.
I made lots of mistakes, and I pissed a lot of people off. But I'll tell you what, I honest to God, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it because I have a lot more friends than I do people that don't like me. And if they don't like me, it's probably a jealousy thing, or it's they've never allowed themselves to put their guards down to get to know me as a person.
Yeah.
Because I really am a super loving and abundant person when it comes to this business.
How was Brandon?
Awesome,
dude. His name was everywhere.
Yeah, he's kind of been the kingpin.
Once the Skinwalkers came out, dude,
that's
I seen the name everywhere.
Yeah, that was fun to watch him do that, and we have a really good relationship. It was hard for him. It was hard for me. I went through a lot of depression and internal hurt, but it wasn't anything personal. It wasn't even we had a bad situation. It was, I wanted to grow and to walk away from, a president gig that was safe, and it was very, very difficult, very difficult. And it created kind of a roller coaster down in my mental health, just because he was obviously upset.
Yeah.
And I was too. I teeter-tottered, like, did I make a bad choice? And did I regret this? Will I regret this? And, I even met with them and had an offer to come back, like as if nothing happened. Like, we'll pay for all the changes and the signs and, all the expenses. It was like, we want you. And it felt good to be validated. It's definitely my love language, the words of affirmation. And I've learned that. I thought it was all sorts of other things, but it just felt good to be acknowledged. And for me, it was they just had to realize that, hey, this is not about you personally or Colliers personally.
Yeah.
Colliers has been nothing but a blessing to me and my family's life for years and years and years, And it took Brandon a while to get over it. And I understand because it's an emotion, right?
Yep.
But I had been really working on myself, and so I'd check in with him. And when he lost his dad, I knew his dad very well, and reached out. I was family. I feel like I still am family, like we're brothers. And we go to lunch, we text, we talk, we were very cordial with each other. But it's not that you just take the high road. Right, because a lot of people just say, well, let's take the high road. But in the back of their head, there's a lot of remorse and guilt and shame and negative talk and just all sorts of stuff. And I was like, no, I'm going to be that person that during this experience, because brokers leave all the time, you're going to have a different experience with me. You know, you're going to see that I am who I am, not what you think I am, what you assume.
Yeah.
And too many times people just assume stuff. So I'm grateful for that. Honestly, there was a reason why I was encouraged, you know, internally to spread my wings. And I think it was that God was challenging me that, hey, I'm going to give you a mental health battle now, because I'm going to make you feel like you don't belong and that you are bad. And that's where all my growth came from, is the last couple of years.
That's brave though, dude. I feel like he's a pretty big, he would cast a pretty big shadow, like as far as if you're underneath him and stuff.
Yeah, he did. But I also, given myself grace, I made a really good name for myself. And you know, I was worried, more out of fear, scarcity, that I would lose clients. But what I realized really quickly as I talked to those clients, you know, even the ones that we shared, it was, why do we not need to keep just sharing them?
Yeah.
You can make 50% of what we have together, what we've built together, or we go toe to toe and one person is, you know, going to lose.
Which is never good.
And I was very, very confident in my relationships with those clients, you know, because I worked in the business. You know, I was the one on all the calls and all the tours, and, you know, he was building, you know, his Skinwalker Ranch and an empire and working on the business. And,
yeah.
you know, it's something that I understood. And, you know, lo and behold, I didn't lose any clients. My clients were very loving to me, saying, look, we don't care what jersey you wear. We care about you. We get you. So as long as we get you, we're happy. And if you have other partners that you want to bring in, or you want to work with Brandon on this still, like, that's wonderful. We support that, but we want you. And that was very graceful for me to just kind of feel that acknowledgement again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it was definitely a challenge in my life, but grateful for it.
And is it the Flint team?
Yeah. So we've kind of branded over the years and evolved, and yeah, it's just my name, Ryan Flint Team, and
yeah.
We're at Mountain West, but up north, like in Davis County, where we live, and we have a little office up there. People know us as the Ryan Flint Team a lot more than Mountain West.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's kind of nice. It's been
that's
fun.
Awesome.
We've been the Ryan Flint Team for a long time, even at Collier's and before that. So
a lot of the same people stayed with you and followed you.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, all of them. We didn't change you know, the office was my office. It was just something by our homes that we wanted, you know, and when COVID hit, obviously everything shut down downtown. And we had our office that's, you know, you walk in and it was branded Ryan Flint Team, and all of our swag and kind of everything that we were doing. You know, we acknowledged the brokerage, but it didn't really help us.
Yeah. So how does that all work? Like, your license is hung with Mountain West?
Uh-huh.
And then you have your own team?
Yes. Yeah. So we have our team. We run all of our commissions through the brokerage. Obviously, there's state rules real estate rules that, you know, you brand on your signage and marketing brochures with Mountain West, just because it's a real estate rule. But in the community, you know, we do a lot of philanthropy and stuff and support the high school kids, and, you know, our brands everywhere. So whether it's, you know, stickers or shirts or hats or, you know, whatever, backpacks, golf bags, we just have fun with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So last night I seen, where were you at last night? What was the Avengers thing?
Avengers was this past weekend in Atlanta. Last night I was in Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was that at one of the RV places?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We took off yesterday afternoon and flew up there. Obviously it's so nice on the private side. You just get there super quick. And we went and looked at a couple of sites and made some decisions and came home.
It's way more convenient to
it's
be able
awesome.
to just pull up, walk in, get on,
it's really
get
nice.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way more convenient. So, your shoes.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your shoes, dude. How many shoes have you got? Are you like the shoe Hefner?
No, I'm sure that there's people out there that have a lot more than me. I've always loved shoes and clothes. I've always been into fashion, and being fit, it's nice. I've always taken care of myself. Since I was little, I've loved fashion. My best friend was my grandma, and I lost her this year, but we always went to the Nordstrom sales and the sock sales, and when the new Jordans would come out, she would get two pairs for me, one to save and one to wear, and we had that bond. She was up until literally the day that she passed, she always had the matching shoes with the matching purse and the
awesome.
clothes, and we just had that connection. So from when I was little, I've always been a clothes and shoes kind of whore.
Yeah, like your Instagram and stuff, dude. You like look sharp all the time on it, and then you do have that shoe tab that shows all the shoes and stuff like that.
That's fun.
I reached out to that. What is that company called that does those? Does your shoes?
GMRT. So Rainey. I was introduced to him a couple of years ago, and we've formed a really good connection. I've helped him, grow his business and open some doors, and he's done the work. He's put himself out there, and he continues to get better. He continues to work on his craft, and it's been fun for me to sit back and see what he's doing. Just, one relationship leads to the other, and he's done shoes for Tim Tebow and Mayweather and a number of other people that are big celebrities in the world. And you peel the onion all the way back, and it's just from that little friendship that we have. And so again, like we were talking, I love watching him win because I feel like I'm winning. You know? But no, at first it was just for fun. It was just for fun. He was taking like Air Force Ones that you buy for $80, $90, and he would paint Louis Vuitton on the swoosh part. And he would put like your logo on the side.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, oh, that's different. I'm speaking in crowds, and I'm already love shoes, and I love dressing nice and suits, and I said, why don't you make me like a pair of shoes, and we'll put my logo on them, and I'll wear them when I speak, and it'll just give me a little bit of like a pep in my step, and it's like basically a conversational piece.
Yeah.
And I think I paid $200 for them total, and I wore them on stage, and I got tons of compliments. Like, oh, where did you get those? And it was just paint. Like, honestly, and it's good paint, like it doesn't wear off or smear. And I was like, oh. So I went back to him, and I was like, I'm getting good feedback. Let's do another one, because I'm speaking again in a week. And at that time, he was whipping them out pretty quick. Just, he was fairly new. And then we got him a sewing machine, and it was a hefty one that, I ordered, and we shipped it in, and it was so big, but he was doing everything by hand.
Yeah.
And so he's like, what I want to do is I want to take this synthetic leather. I want to take this real leather from these bags or these purses, and I want to, customize the shoe of whatever people want. So it's like real. I was like, that's a great idea. But he was hand stitching, and I was like, how are you going to be able to even like make money if you're hand stitching these shoes one by one?
Through leather?
Through leather.
I'm like, dude, you'll have arthritis in a
couple
of years.
Yeah, and it was just him, right? And I think he had one other employee at the time. And I said, well, let's get you this machine, right? I want to see you like grow. I want to see you spread your wings. And so I helped him with it, and it made me feel really good. And without anything in return, I didn't really care. I just said, I just want to see you be able to flourish. Like, I just love the guy. He just works his butt off.
Yeah.
And he's just a good, authentic
He looks
person.
like a good dude.
He is. He's a true friend. He's like a brother. And lo and behold, he can't get a shoe done in a couple of days now because he's, got hundreds of them on order.
And
but
custom boxes.
oh, he's just, again, it's like every little time I see him, he's evolving and he's growing and he's pushing, and it's, you know, he knows his parameters of not to grow too quick, you know, too fast, too soon. But he's gained a lot of connections and access, and it's fun for me. So I have fun the way what I do is, you know, I've got a lot of shoes that aren't custom, but if I go speak or you know, if have somebody on podcasts, or, you know, I do a deal or whatnot, I've been able to surprise, like,
how'd you get those? Go back to that.
Yeah, so the ones there, those are actually those were my son's.
Were they?
And he picked those out. Those were the Ben and Jerry,
the Ben and Jerry ones.
Jerry ice cream.
Yeah,
and he liked the Travis Scott backwards swoosh, and so he took a Jordan 1 and played with it and did that for him.
I was gonna say, because like the Ben and Jerry, like everybody was trying to get those when they dropped.
Yeah. So those were for my son, and what's cool is my son is into the shoes, and now he's got a couple of pair, but all of his friends and, you know, the kids at school are, hey, how do I get those? And so my son reached out to Rainey, and now they talk, and you know, he invites him to come work in the booth at, you know, Shoot the Sneaker Con, and it just means a lot, because, you know, he's not doing that to impress me. He's doing that because my son's passionate about those shoes,
and he loves shoes too.
And he loves shoes, and it's just fun. So we've had a lot of fun, but it's just a hobby, and it's just a conversational point. It's become part of my trademark and my brand.
I like it, dude. I like it. I was going to tell you, I think you're wearing fours right now.
Yes.
I was going to tell you to bring your red and black fours.
Oh yeah.
I think I've seen those on your social media.
Yeah. The ones you're wearing.
Yep, the ones I'm wearing. Yeah. Yep. I was going to say, wear your red and black.
Yeah,
fours.
I would have worn them if you would have told me. I have a couple of the fours. They're some of my most comfortable ones.
I need to get more into shoes. I do enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's like the confidence or wearing stuff, like even looking good or feeling good.
Yeah.
But I always run like Pumas or something, like red Pumas or something like that. My nephew's like, dude, you need to buy some shoes.
Yeah.
My younger nephew, he's like, come on, Kate.
Yeah, it gets addicting. But luckily, I just, over the course of the last couple of years, I've gotten to be really good friends with buyers, you know, that buy in bulk and get good deals. And so, you know, supporting them, and, hey, I've got, you know, a friend looking for this, and I'll line them up. And you know, I get hit up on social media like, hey, do you know where I can get this shoe? And like, shoes aren't my business, but I'm passionate that, you know, I'd love to help you. So I'll connect the dots for them. And you know, it's just, I love helping people. So it's just fun.
It is. That is awesome.
The shoe game is fun. I was always suit and tie every day, you know, in corporate firms. And I had the custom suits because one of my buddies is H.M. Cole, and I still rock them, or, you know, like a sport coat that's bold and fun. And got to the point where they surprised me, I think 2 or 3 times ago, with my logo on the liner on the inside. And it was like, wow, that's, you know, something I would do for somebody just because it's so fun. And so we've definitely blown up their business, and then, you know, not being at a corporate shop, you know, I still wear suits a lot, but I get to dress down a little bit and get to throw the J's on. And again, it's more for conversation. Like, hey, I love your Jordans. Like when you're in the elevator, you know, you can almost go to anybody and you're like, I love your Jordans. Yep. And you just instantly have that connection. And then you have to give yourself the permission to chat with them and be open. But I've formed a lot of friendships through shoes.
I bet.
I have. So it's fun.
So one other thing I wanted to talk about as well is one of the things that's hardest for me is public speaking. Mm-hmm. You do a lot of public speaking.
I do. Yeah. And
I've seen you at elevator nights.
Yeah. And you know what? It's hard for me too. You know, even to this day, I'm getting better and I'm gaining more confidence, but it's still hard. You know, I every big personal public speaker that does it on the big stage, they tell me that they still get, antsy and nervous too. It's just the
way it goes.
The human body. Yep. That's just how it is. But you work on it just like you do everything else. It's like shooting a free throw in a big crowd. You do it enough times, you just kind of get used to it, but doesn't mean that, when in the fourth quarter, you don't still get a little bit shaky or nervous.
Yeah.
It's just a normal feeling. So you either thrive or you fail on that pressure. And for me, it's just fun. It's a way for me to kind of get out of my element and get uncomfortable. And I grow the most when I'm uncomfortable. So it's, but again, people don't really care. They don't notice it, unless you're squeaking like a 12-year-old, but that doesn't happen very often. But you just go up there and you be authentic.
Yeah.
You be authentic, and if you have a message and a story, and the best speakers, the best podcasters are storytellers. And just make your story relatable. Obviously I get training for it. I get coached, just like any other thing. And you just have to practice.
I think, and as long as you're up there and you're talking about what you know, it's a lot easier. Yeah. If you're up there trying to fake it or anything like that and talk about stuff you don't know, then you're going to get some squeaky voices.
Yeah, and it's noticed. People can feel the authenticity of your voice and your confidence and your demeanor.
Yeah.
That's why I said the best thing that you can do is just be able to relate to people. And my message is always out of love.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's really fun. I enjoy it a ton.
What do you get asked to speak on?
Well, when I first got asked to speak, it was, I started in like the elevator nights where it was, hey, we'll throw a panel together. We're going to talk about investing. So obviously my person was real estate investing. Or it could be, hey, we're going to talk on, leasing. I mean, so many different things I've been on. But when I keynote, I'll kind of ask what the crowd needs. And so if I'm going to, and I, it's like you cater to your audience. So if I'm going and I'm speaking to a high school baseball team, I'm probably not going to talk about real estate investing. I'm probably not going to talk about marriage. I'm probably not going to talk about, something different. I'm going to ask the coach, hey, what do they need? Do they need some motivation? Do they need, put me as a senior in high school or a sophomore in high school and put me in that position? And, now 20 years later, what I would kill to go back and
do that. Yeah.
I just try to relate to whoever I am. I've talked to, crowds of women. I've talked to high school baseball. I've talked to kids that, are in juvenile school and, and big entrepreneur groups. So for me, I kind of do something a little bit different, and it's just because I've worked on myself a lot over the last couple of years. Is I just go deep with myself and I try to feel the room. I'm very intuitive with myself and with what I feel, and most of the time I won't have anything prepared until a couple of minutes before I actually step on stage, and it's. It sounds.
Is it better that way?
I think it's better for the crowd because I'm very analytical. I have a smart mind, and so I sometimes question my own self. Or
just seeing their reaction and moving.
Yeah,
with it.
And I'll just dive too deep into it. Maybe I speak too smart, or because I'm just studying, and I realize, I don't wing it. That's for sure. Because I practice and I really search deep within my soul of what they need, what do I feel. I ask questions to kind of the person in charge of, why are people here? What are they after?
Yeah.
Are they after just like some rah? Yeah, I can do that, but obviously I want to take it a little bit deeper. are they here because they're struggling with some part of their life? I've talked to addiction recovery people. That's a whole different ball game, right? That's when you've got to rely a little bit on, your spiritual side and giving yourself permission to feel that, right? People just need to have the confidence enough to surrender whatever they're doing in their life. And if I'm a resource or a vehicle, then that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
You, in surrendering yourself and everything like that, you were talking earlier when we were talking, did you just start like meditating and stuff like that?
I've been working on myself for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But it was really when I left Colliers about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, when I was fighting a lot of demons. And when I say demons, I was insecure. I was sad. I was starting to get depressed. I had some health scares that I lost a lot of weight really fast. And I didn't know why all of it was occurring. I didn't know. But I knew that if I didn't do something about it, I probably would have died. I was very depressed. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah. From business decisions and stuff like that?
No.
From leaving? Just
No.
all in
No.
all, everything.
It was just all in all. I am 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
All the time.
I'm with you there.
I'm the first up. I'm the first there. I'm up till, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and I'd get back to the office when my teammates were probably tucking their kids in bed just to start my day. And I did that for a decade. And so I really had no time to do anything for myself. The weekends I chilled with the family. I have a very supportive family. And, I'm grateful I went hard because I was able to earn a little nest egg. But when it stopped, even during COVID, like I was forced to be at home. Now you think forced to be at home, that doesn't sound very good. But when you don't know how to actually function at home, and your kids want to be with you, and your spouse wants to be with you, and you have a family
pacing around.
Yeah, family vacations. No one would ever know that I was in Maui for a week.
Yeah.
I answered every email, answered every call. I never missed a Zoom call or a phone call, or I'd stay up late even if we had family activities. I never did the out of office email ever. It would bug me when people did. It was like, you're lazy, right? Because we're in a business that we can work from anywhere, and if we don't have a in-person meeting, then it's a phone call.
Yeah.
Or an email. It's not hard. So it was just a accumulation of everything. So it had nothing to do with business decisions. It was when I left Colliers, they literally made me feel like I made the worst choice in my life. So you question yourself, right? Did I just make the worst decision in my life like they're telling me I did? When really it's not. I prayed a lot about it. I dug deep about it. I wanted to spread my wings and, be able to grow my wealth, not just make commissions. There was a lot of reasons why. And they outweighed staying, right? But staying would have been good too.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
Got to throw that out there too.
Yeah. It's crazy though how many people sitting in that chair, it's almost the same thing. Where they jumped and they left and started something else. Everybody was saying that's the worst decision you've ever done.
Yeah.
And in both cases so far, Mike Manfrey,
yeah,
you saying that, they're happy you did it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had conversations about that. Mike and I, you and I. I'm grateful for it, but it all hit at once, and let's just say I wasn't ready for it. I was, had my guards up, my boxing gloves on, with myself, where I would look in the mirror and it was like, no, I'm too tough for you. I'm You know, I'm better than you. Like I can easily go through this, you know, or beat this. It's not a big deal. In it was February, I think, of last year. This year, it was February of this year, so it's almost been a year. I was introduced to. I had known Shannon Sperber for a while, being in Avengers. Her and her husband, and she is, you know, a doctor that specializes in somatic breath work. And I had no idea what it was.
I have no idea either.
Oh, I had several people like say, "Hey, you know her? She's hard to get into. You need to do that." I read lots of books. I've always been a reader. I collect books like I do shoes. My book collection is way bigger than shoes. I love to read books, not listen to books, mostly just for my mind, just to kind of get away. And, I was listening to podcasts and, trying to be as motivated and inspired as I could. And, was doing the holistic thing however I could to get I had stomach, gut issues, colon issues, and that's where I was losing all the weight. And honestly, that kicked in a lot of my mental problems because I lost 60, 65 pounds in 30 days. I didn't have 60 or 65 pounds of, I was pretty muscular and fit, and I didn't have anything to lose. And every doctor was just kind of giving me the runaround, like, oh, you just have IBS or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I've had IBS since, I was a missionary in Mexico. It's just what you get. It's what everyone gets. So, we didn't know what it was. And when you're working out every day and you're eating,
that drives you crazy.
Meal prep, and you literally can't get out of bed because you have zero energy. You can't eat a calorie. You're barely surviving. I was tiny. I got down to like 140 pounds. Tiny. But yet I'm motoring at work. And it's a lot of the, brain capacity that you're taking up.
Yeah.
And so when I would crash, I'd crash and worry that I wouldn't wake up the next day just because I was exhausted. And when you're not working out and you're not eating and you don't have the energy, like it fucks with your head big time. And it made me sad. I was depressed as hell. I was like, I'm nothing. Like, this happens, then this happens, then this happens. And rather than just what we talked about, surrendering, I kept fighting it.
Yeah.
I kept building my gate higher. I kept, padding my boxing gloves. And the thing is who was I fighting? We can blame everything on the higher power. We can blame it on our marriage. We can blame it on, our business relationships or whatever. My business was on fire. It never stopped, which was crazy. But everything else in my life kind of went to the shitter. And so I reached out to Shannon. I took my my real estate team, my Ryan Flint team, down to Arizona. We had a little retreat. I used it as an excuse to have a retreat. But in the back of my mind, I was going to do breath work. And I thought, if I have an opportunity to provide this for my team, thinking that maybe a couple of them will just be like, this is so dumb. I didn't really give a shit. It was kind of a selfish move, but I'm glad that I did that, and they are too. But Shannon is obviously an expert. Like she for 20 years, Kate, I didn't shed a tear. My guard was up so high, my gate was up so high that it wouldn't have mattered, honestly, if I would have lost one of my kids. I probably wouldn't have cried. It was that bad. It's like that hard soul. I always had a spiritual side, but it was that hard soul. And that's usually when people take their life, honestly. Talking to Shannon, we obviously knew each other from being in the Avengers, a group together, but not on a level to where, she was going to work on me.
Yeah.
And she pulled me aside and said, Ryan, you've got to allow yourself to feel. I'm like, okay, what the hell does that mean? You need to give yourself permission to feel everything. Feel sad, feel mad, feel happy, feel spiritual, feel everything, every emotion. And I was like, I don't feel mad. I won't be sad. She's like, well, your guard's up, right? So if I can just ask one thing, just give yourself permission. No one's looking at you. It's just you versus you. Okay? I'm just here to facilitate. Because you have to do the work. You know, she doesn't do the work for you. She just helps facilitate. And I'll tell you what, there was a presence in the room, you know, that call it, you know, the spirit or whatever it was. I believe in God a lot. And I surrendered 100%. And I just said, you know what? Whatever it is, even if I die on this floor, on this mat right now, I'm going to lay it out there. You know, I had my wife in the room. You know, she's doing it there with me just on the other side. You know, you can't be by each other. I had my teammates. You know, my COO has been my best bud for 30 plus years. You know, and he's not really into that kind of stuff. But, you know, so in the back of my mind, I'm like thinking about their reaction, right? The fear of their reaction. Like, why did Ryan want us to do this? And she has these conversations with all of them, right? And during the breath work, they put you through breath exercises, and I would encourage you to watch her stuff. It's unbelievable. And do it and reach out to her, honestly.
Is she on Instagram?
Oh,
social
yeah.
media?
Yeah, and I'll connect you with her.
Okay.
She's honestly just the greatest person. So you do these breath exercises, you know, and she you know goes through this, you know, obviously there's a method and things that she says, and you start feeling the emotions. And I'll never forget the emotion that I felt most was I wanted to be that amazing dad when my daughter went down the aisle, because I have one daughter and she's everything to me. She's 7 now. And it was whatever she said, it was, you know, if there's one thing that you see that you would be sad if you weren't there, what would it be? And it was that. Because I know how much she's relying on me. And it broke me. I'm getting emotional now. It beat the hell out of me. But instead of fighting it, I just said, she told me to surrender. I'm going to give myself permission to feel it all. And I just, you know, not hysterical and annoying, but I broke down. I lost it. To the point where I couldn't even breathe. And I was holding it back. Like there's the music that's going on is very, very loud on purpose, right? So that you don't hold back.
Yeah.
Some people yell, some people scream, some people swear, some people orgasm. Like there's all different emotions. I broke down. And I remember in that moment, because you're in a different zone, that it was when I surrendered. And I was telling myself, God, Ryan, you are the only person that sees you for what you're going through, besides one other person in my life. That was my grandma. My grandma always saw me for the person that I am. And as people, we're like snakes. We have avatars. We're the same person. Like my wife was like, I want the Ryan that I married. Well, that Ryan is the same Ryan. It's just you form those snake skins that you peel out of, right? And it's growth. You know, sometimes those snake skins are bad snake skins, and sometimes they're good. So, again, you work on yourself. You put the right people in your life. And Shannon was the one that, let's just say, she broke me. I honest to God talk about her on every podcast. When I see her, I just hug her as tight as I can, because I'm alive because of that moment. I'm not alive because of her. I'm alive because I allowed myself permission to go through that exercise rather than putting my guard up and saying I'm too good for that stuff, right? Then I met Bryce. Bryce, yeah, speaking coach, podcast coach. Little did I know he's talk about avatars. It's not about agreeing or disagreeing or being wrong or being right. It's about being aligned. You're in a marriage. It's not about who does better, who's got a level up on one another, or a friendship or a business relationship. It's, are you aligned? Because we're going to disagree on a lot of stuff. But if we're aligned, we're aligned. And I felt aligned with myself. I'm always intuitive. I'm healthy. I know what my body needs. I know what it desires. I know if I splurge, it won't do anything. Little things, right? I know when I need to drop to my knees and talk to God. I know when I need to call my mom. I know when I need to say sorry, surrender, whatever. So for the last couple of years, and especially since, the last year, since I've surrendered, the right people I'm showing up in their life and they're showing up in mine. And it's not like, oh, this is a coincidence. No, it's because you're allowing yourself permission to be helped. And my grandma always saw Ryan for the Ryan in the moment. And a lot of the people that I wanted to see Ryan, that I loved, that I thought, or that loved me, but they saw me for my other avatar. Maybe it was the avatar a year ago or the avatar 5 years ago, and they're stuck on that. And no matter if a trigger comes up, they refer back to that. And I kept getting frustrated and fighting, and that's why your guards go up, where it's like, you don't see me. You do not see me. But yet, why do you think I had such a good relationship with my grandma? Because she always saw me for me, and I saw me for me. But what I didn't realize...
You weren't letting anybody else see you for you.
Well, I wasn't letting... They needed to see them before they could see me. Like, especially my wife. She needed to see her in her best avatar in order to see Ryan in his best avatar, right? In the moment.
Yeah.
And it's not even the best. It's just in the moment. Like, I've grown so much that, there's a separation that it just happens over time if you're not working on yourself. And so you hear it all the time, like, you can't love others until you love yourself.
Love yourself.
Well, just change the words a little bit, because it's like, I do love myself. Try changing the words, saying, until you allow yourself permission to see you for you. And then think about that. For me, I didn't see me for me. It wasn't until I surrendered, because I was like, I am spiritual. I'll cry. I literally couldn't. I couldn't if I tried. Every little thing bugged the shit out of me, but I wouldn't vocalize it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be emotional about it. I'm not emotional. But when I surrendered, it was having those emotionals actually connect you to others. Think about the authenticity when you're in alignment and connected to a friend. It's been amazing how many friends have come to me for things outside of business. When I was at Avengers, when I got home, the question was like, I got to hear what deals you're working on and there's always deals.
Yeah.
But my takeaway is I think I saved 2 marriages. That was my takeaway. And I think I know I saved 2 men, my friends, but I guarantee I'll save 2 marriages. And you just sit back and you're like, well, your marriage has been very hard and sucked for a long time. How do you go save 2 other marriages when your marriage sucks or sucked? Well, it's crazy when you allow yourself to surrender how much God uses you. You know, and I grew up LDS and Christian and all that, but I don't talk about, I was always a little bit timid to talk about God, or, you know, as everyone talks about it here. And honestly, it was like my saving grace, you know, and it's not like, oh, I found God. No. I found Ryan. I've always acknowledged God. It's never been his issue. It's always been mine. You know.
Yeah.
You know, you go to God when you don't need him. You go to God when you need him. But you've got to surrender and give yourself permission to grow. And in business, honestly, this year has been my biggest year ever, like times 1,000.
That's awesome.
But my relationships are way better than they've ever been. And my relationship with myself. I catch myself when I start slipping. And when I say slip, like losing confidence in myself. Or when somebody says something negative, rather than holding all the weight on your shoulders and like being offended by it, it's like, hey, I acknowledge your opinion. It's okay. Like, you don't need to love me. I don't care. I'm still going to love you to death. Right? You don't have to kill with kindness and all that kind of stuff. It's just be you. And, you know, it's whatever judgments come, it's you just feel them a lot different because you're in alignment with yourself and the people that you find out quickly who actually matters.
You have always got to be working on yourself.
Always. It's the greatest thing. It's saved my life. I guarantee I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for it.
You can't love anybody else until you love yourself.
No, and you can't love yourself until you surrender. You know, and you give
Put
yourself
those walls
permission
down.
to love yourself. You can't just look in the mirror and be like, I'm a badass. Because I always said that to me. I always looked good. You know, I would maybe cover it with cool shoes, cool suits, you know, a big deal, you know, a cool car. You know, you can't take any of that with you. Can't. You know, and when I lost my grandma this year in May, you know, I had already experienced the breath work and all that, and I do it almost every day. Sometimes it takes me just a couple of seconds to get in, and sometimes I fight it, you know, because I have a lot on my mind. But when I lost my grandma, I was in a different place. We had some tender moments at the last couple of days where we had one-on-ones before she kind of, you know, they put her on morphine to just make her comfortable. And I realized, you know what? I never said it to her, but because I had worked on myself, I knew that she was the one that always saw me for me. No wonder I'm having a really hard time with this right now. You know?
That's a cool connection.
Yeah, it was amazing. And her one of her last words was, "Hey Ryan," because I was like, "Grandma, give me advice." She was a mega entrepreneur. Like, she owned all the tanning
Sounds like
salons
she had style.
all over. Oh my gosh, she was so successful, and she went through hell, in her life, in her adult life, and not one person said anything bad about her. Everyone loved her because I talked to a lot of people about her, and she said, "Just be truthful to yourself." And I was like, okay, like, I am truthful to myself. But what she meant was the only person that you need to be fully truthful with is you. Because when you do that, your light shines so bright, everyone notices it. And then it made sense of, oh, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know someone. Oh, no. When your light shines and you give yourself permission to shine and see yourself, that's when people notice you. Well, when people notice you, that's when your life changes. And you change others, right?
That frequency you put off.
It's nuts, Cade.
Yeah.
And so my core values are make a lot of money. People usually judge it. Great. Well, keep diving. Help a lot of people, or make a lot of money, help a lot of people, okay, because I love doing that, and have a lot of fun doing it, right? Because that's what it's all about. And when you're having fun, it becomes abundant. It doesn't become about the money, but you can't help a lot of people in a way that you want to in the back of your mind
Yeah.
without going through the work. And when you're working, you make money naturally. It's just how the world is, right? It doesn't need to be flashy or billions or millions. It's you make a lot of money because that's why we go to work. It's what we do. It's not who we are, but we're going to help a lot of people because that's who you are, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and that's what you create. And so I live by that every day. And some days are hard, some days are awesome, but every day I'm grateful for.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having
I
me.
really do. We got to do this again.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
So
I would love that.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, dude, that was awesome. Your grandma sounds like a badass.
She was fucking awesome. Yeah, and she was a mega entrepreneur.